In this video, I talk about my trip to Krakow in Poland. Krakow is a city used to visit Auschwitz, but it is still very beautiful and characteristic. I was there for a day and a half, and I will show you what I saw and give you my travel tips. The main attraction, and the one we will see first, is the St. Mary's Basilica. The church dates back to the 13th century, although it was destroyed several times during wars and the Mongol invasion, and was finally rebuilt in the 14th century. It is one of the best examples of Polish Gothic architecture, and in 1978, it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The main feature of this church are the two different towers. But why the two towers are different? A legend says that two brothers were assigned the task of building the towers. Each took on one tower, but as construction progressed, the younger brother realized his tower would be shorter. Out of jealousy or rage, he murdered his brother to prevent him from finishing the taller tower. Overcome with guilt, the surviving brother eventually threw himself from the taller tower, using the same knife he used to commit the crime. This very knife is said to hang today in Krakow's Cloth Hall as a reminder of the tale. Leaving aside the legends, the real reason is this. The two towers were likely built at different times and possibly by different builders, which resulted in the height discrepancy. The taller tower, about 80 meters, known as the Hedźnalika, served as a watchtower for the city. Since it needed to provide a better vantage point for spotting invaders, it was constructed higher. The shorter tower, about 69 meters, functions as the bell tower, which didn't require the same height and was built for a different purpose. Now let's enter the church. This is the altar by Wieliczka. In the rood screen on the top, you can see a late Gothic crucifix. The impression you get when you enter is that the church is truly rich in decorations and details at every corner and in every point. There are also many small chapels on the sides, some of which cannot be visited as they are dedicated exclusively to prayers and not to tourists. Very beautiful is the altar of the Dormition of the Blessed Virgin Mary, one of the most important works of late Gothic wooden culture, made between 1477 and 1489, commissioned by the bourgeoisie of Krakow. You can see here also the stalls of the presbytery, made in 1586 by the woodcarver Fabian Moller, representing the life of Jesus and the Virgin Mary. This is the Ciborium, work of Giovanni Maria Padovano in 1551. This is the altar of the Holy Cross, with the relics of Saint Theodora, and a very ancient crucifix, dating back to the 15th century. The neo-Gothic pulpit was made in 1898 by Whit Whiz. Near the church is the main square, the Rynek Główny, where there is also a beautiful and characteristic covered market. Here you can buy souvenirs and items of all kinds, but also products with amber, very characteristic for Krakow. This building was the cloth market and dates back to 1257. Here the merchants of Krakow gathered to negotiate and conduct their business, trading spices, silk, wax, leather, but above all fabrics from England or Flanders, and salt from the nearby mines of Wieliczka. This is the Town Hall Tower, and is the only remaining part of Krakow's old town hall, which was demolished in 1820 as part of the city plan to open up the main square. Its cellars once housed a prison with a medieval torture chamber. Now let's visit the Wieliczka salt mines, which are located in a peripheral area of Krakow, just half an hour from the center. The place is truly unique. It is recommended to buy tickets online on the official website. You will find the information to buy tickets in the description. During the visit, you go down many meters underground and you have to take many steps down and go through many tunnels. You do not have to take steps up because you go out with the elevator. You can't go down on your own, but always with a guide and in a group. The whole tour takes about 2 or 3 hours and is really interesting. This mine was used for salt extraction from the 13th century to 1996. It is one of the oldest salt mines in the world. The mine reaches a depth of 327.1 meters and has galleries and tunnels for a total length of 287 kilometers, but only 3.5 kilometers are accessible during tourist tours, less than 1% of the total length. These are the blocks of salt that were then taken out of the mine. In the mines you can see many statues made entirely of salt by artists and representing famous people. Here, for example, is represented Copernicus. Some floors are also made with salt. In fact, as the guide shows, the floor is transparent with a little light. The salt is no longer mined, but solidified salt crystals can be seen on the walls of the tunnels. This salt statue is dedicated to King Kazimierz of Poland, Kazimierz Wielki. As you can see, even some steps are made entirely of salt, so be careful when going down because you can slip. Even though salt is no longer extracted, you can see that the water sources have a very high concentration of salt. The chandeliers, also made from salt from the mines, are also very beautiful. Let's now enter the Chapel of St. Kinga, certainly a unique place in the world. It is located 101 meters deep, about 54 meters long, 18 meters wide and 12 meters high. It can accommodate up to 400 people and is still used today for weddings, concerts and masses. There are many religious bas-reliefs of the Nativity, the Crucifixion, and even the Last Supper, obviously copied from Leonardo da Vinci, made entirely of salt. Another very beautiful thing are the chandeliers, made with purified salt. The pendants, in fact, are not made of glass or crystal, but with a particular technique. The raw salt is dissolved, purified, and recrystallized to obtain a transparent effect. The supporting structure of the chandeliers is hand sculpted directly in the salt or made with metal elements covered in salt. There is also an underground lake with obviously very salty water. Throughout the structure there are many wooden beams. Although it may seem strange, wood is a material that resists a lot over time, while other metal structures would risk oxidizing quickly. Under the caves, there is also a restaurant where you can eat. I went around closing time and found it closed. Now we're going to see Wawel Castle, but first we'll stop outside to see a special dragon. Now we're going to see Wawel Castle, but first we'll stop outside to see a special dragon. This is the legend. Long ago, under Wawel Hill lived a terrible dragon that terrorized the people of Krakow. The dragon regularly emerged from its cave to devastate villages, devour livestock, and, in some versions, demand young girls as a sacrifice. One day a young shoemaker, Scuba, came forward and came up with a cunning plan. He took a sheep, filled it with sulfur, and left it outside the dragon's cave. The greedy dragon devoured the animal. Shortly after, thirsty from the burning sensation of the sulfur, he drank enormous quantities of water from the Vistula river until he burst. The people were freed and the hero became a legend. This legend is told to children in Krakow. If you are lucky, you can see the dragon breathing fire every 5 minutes. Let's now look at the Wawel Castle, which you absolutely must visit if you are in Krakow. Wawel Castle is one of the most important historical and cultural symbols of Poland, located on Wawel Hill in Krakow, along the Vistula River. This castle has been the center of political and spiritual power of the country for centuries. Wawel Hill has been inhabited since prehistoric times, but the first stone castle dates back to the 11th century. In the 14th century, under the reign of Casimir III the Great, the castle was rebuilt in Gothic style. Later, in the 16th century, during the reign of Sigismund I the Old, the castle was transformed into a magnificent Renaissance residence, thanks also to Italian masters such as Bartolomeo Berecci. After the capital was moved to Warsaw in the 17th century, the castle lost importance and was damaged during the Swedish invasions and Austrian occupations. It was restored in the 19th and 20th centuries, becoming a national museum. Here we can see the castle's Renaissance courtyard, an elegant example of Italian architecture with loggias on 3 levels, similar to a Florentine palace. Here we can see the castle's Renaissance courtyard, an elegant example of Italian architecture with loggias on 3 levels, similar to a Florentine palace. The first room we see is the tournament room, and it takes the name from the subject of frieze, painted in 1540 by Hans Dürer. Very beautiful is also the 18th century tiled stove. This is the Envoys' Hall, one of the rarest rooms of the palace. It was also used as a throne room, presence chamber, and courtroom. The special feature of this room is the ceiling, with the heads of Wawel. At first, in the 16th century, the entire ceiling was covered with 194 realistically carved human heads. But at the beginning of the 19th century, the ceiling was destroyed, and only 30 of them survived and were replaced. If you have more days, I recommend visiting other places in Krakow, such as Oskar Schindler's factory, Czartoryski Museum in Krakow, where Leonardo da Vinci's Lady with an Ermine is exhibited, Krakow Cathedral, and of course Auschwitz, which requires at least half a day. The Jewish quarter Kazimierz is also very beautiful and characteristic. If you like this video, please put a like and follow my channel. It's free for you, but for me it's very important. Thank you.